Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today we're opening with e4. The rating is looking nice and healthy as we see a Scandinavian defense. I'm going to play d4 here, which is a move to blunder known as the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit, although we are going to refer to it as the Blackmar Gambit for reasons that you are free to Google. f3 here, offering up another pawn along this black pawn's taking rampage. Now, usually we take back with the knight, but I'm going to take back with the queen and play the Rider Gambit, offering up yet another pawn, which they do not take. So I'll defend it, and effectively we are just prioritizing the queenside castle. Although immediately I don't want to castle queenside and then have takes absolutely trash my pawn structure. So I think we're going to go for a little bit of knight g to e2. Or I guess it's just knight to e2 because the knight from c couldn't get to e2 because it's pinned. Magnus actually asked that question recently in a tournament, whether you actually need to clarify if one of the knights is pinned. Anyway, now we're going to castle queenside. Yes, this bishop's temporarily not looking so great. However, opposite side castling position, that means one thing. That means vicious pawn storm. Although, one sec, why am I not just going to take that? Oh, because they can take with queen and attack my queen and also attack a2. Yeah, that is unfortunate. I don't want to trade queens, but I think I might have to. Okay, at least if we're going to trade queens, I'm going to make my opponent do it on my terms and give me an open g file. So there you go, a3. How about that? Now, if the queen tries to sneak in here, we just take the bishop, and if check, we can do this. So the queen takes my queen, I take. Now you've got to move your bishop somewhere. They go back to e7. I'm going to go rook g1. And although the queens are off the board, I still think we have some attacking promise here with ideas like bishop h6, although bishop f6 is going to be an annoying refutation to that. Damn. Yeah, they just go bishop f6 straight away. What if I do this and this? I like that. We're just going to go for it. No calculation. They are underdeveloped here, I'll say. And they are just going to fianchetto this bishop, which makes sense, although you're doing a lot of just moving the same couple of pieces here. I mean, this bishop's gone back, it's come out, then you've pushed a pawn, then you've gone back. All for this setup, which does make sense. However, we could be looking at playing h4 and trying to exploit that. This is still all very underdeveloped, and you are only up one pawn. So maybe, you know, this is looking like a weak square. This is looking like a weak square. If we can dislodge this dark squared bishop, then life will be looking quite pleasant, I believe. Although our opponent is a 22-23 rated player. So maybe they will be able to whittle this down to an endgame where they're just up a pawn. Who knows? Okay, the knight develops. h5 has to make sense. It just has to make sense. I might even play h6. That could actually be quite fun. Ooh, bishop goes back. 1 second. Does h6 make sense? You have to go back with the bishop. And then I could go bishop g5. Okay, clearly they want to put their knight on f5. You know what, boys? h6. The bishop goes back, and we control a very important square. Now, usually you don't want to play h6. You want to open up that h-file. But without the queens on the board, I think the potential for mating is drastically decreased. So what about bishop g5 now? Do you play f6 maybe? That's going to be annoying, actually. You might just be able to play f6. Okay, well, we're going to go for it. And if you do play f6, that is going to be weakening g6 long term. Also, it is going to be a target long term for some pieces. I'll probably just drop my bishop back to h4. Yeah. Okay. I'm okay with this. I'm not crying myself to sleep just yet. The king just moves. Wow. Okay, that's a bit of a bold statement. Basically saying, I'm scared of the g-file. Please help me. This bishop is also now awful. Let's go bishop c4. I think we are just optimizing our pieces here. Pinning this pawn. Maybe the king just keeps running, honestly. But so far, we have successfully destroyed the potential development of this bishop. Although it can come back to life very easily with a pretty simple f5. Although f5 immediately would be a blunder, actually. Because we'd go check and then win the pawn on e6, I think. So, okay. Can't play f5 just yet, at least. If you go here, for instance, then we're going to go like this. So they make, okay, knight into the center. That makes sense. It's not really what you want to see. It is not really what you want to see. Is this knight trying to go anywhere annoying? Yes. You know what? Bishop's going back to a2. Looks like a weird move, but I think the bishop is going to be very safe there, as well as cut a very useful diagonal. And maybe we can go c4, remove the knight, and then d5 and break towards this king and actually do it some damage. Again, f5, we go check. Whoa. Whoa. That doesn't look like a good move to me. Because I'm going to play check. If you go into here or here, then we're going to go like this with a discovered check and win the rook. So they just go back. This is looking... Okay. We're cooking, boys. We've got potential here. Definite potential. Maybe c4. Honestly, why not rook e1? We're going to go for it. Rook e1. The idea is to try and take this. And maybe destabilize this knight. Like, for instance, if rook here, don't we have knight takes? Because if bishop takes, we sack the rook, rook takes, and then bishop takes here and pin the rook to the king. That might work. So rook here can't defend. You can't push because you hang the knight. This looks like a very, very weak king now. And it's, I mean, okay, well done. You've improved your bishop a little bit by playing f5. But allowing me to go in here and then sneaking back like this, my bishop on a2 is brutal. There's none of this. And if you don't do this, how else do you defend? They just grab the pawn. Wow. Really? Surely we're just taking this here now. Maybe my rook hangs in the end. Is that the idea? I grab a pawn. You grab a rook. I grab a rook. And your knight's hanging. Okay, I think we've got to grab this. I'm just going to go for it. Grab the pawn. Now, I'm down a pawn. If you take this, which I think you have to, because right now I'm just forking your pieces. This is hanging. Everything's hanging. There is no compensation. Maybe you could take this actually first. I get a bishop. You get a rook. I get a knight. I may have completely messed this up. Okay, we'll go for this. It seems playable. In fact, it seems really playable. Because if you take my rook, I take your knight, and I'm threatening some discovered check with potential for bishop f6 as well. This king is just still looking like it does not belong in this diagonal. I'm still thinking that maybe there's life in the game yet after we blunder a rook on g1, unfortunately. There also might be some insane like rook g6. Okay, you know what? Right, we take this. We are down a rook and a pawn for a bishop. But what a powerful bishop it is. Now, if you play something like c6, for instance, I'm threatening rook g6. Double check. Although then I'll be leaving both of my pieces hanging. King h8. Actually, no, I'm not threatening that at all. Because here, double check. King h8. Actually, no, because then I take this. And then you take here. And your king is so weak. And I've got the exact dark square bishop to snake in and do this. Okay, c6 does not work. I do not think. What if you just play king h8? Do I go bishop f6? Okay. Bishop f6. If you go back, I'm assuming that's just a terrible idea. Because we can just go like here, for instance. And that is going to be checkmate, I think. So here you have to take. Then we take. I just think we've kind of run out of steam a little bit. What about I take here? Grab a pawn. I'm convinced that if we give up this dark squared bishop just to get the exchange back, like we're exchanged down anyway, we're just going to simplify into a worse position. What if, okay, I want my bishop on this diagonal without a doubt, but I want it somewhere, for instance, like say it was on e1 now, bishop c3, and the game is just over. We're doing so well there. However, if I take a move to reroute this bishop onto the diagonal, they play bishop d4, and I can't get there. So what if, and hear me out, I play pawn to c3 and just stop you from going to d4. That is the only way you can access this diagonal. Maybe you go here, but then I'm holding this square. Right, boys, I'm playing pawn c3. If this turns out to be the best move, if the engine says this is the best move, this is one of the best moves I've played. Just full stop. Right, we're playing c3. We're playing c3. I don't want your bishop on this diagonal. The understanding that this diagonal is obviously the defining diagonal of the game. I do not want to just sack the bishop back now. We could win the rook for the bishop. We've established that. But I think we'd just be in a slightly worse endgame. Maybe we get rook f7 and maybe it's a draw, but I'm not playing for a draw. I have a bishop pair, and the king's in the corner looking dumb. I'm playing to win. We hold now a suspiciously useful amount of the squares that the bishop can move to. Oh, they're just going to trade me up. Oh, boys. They've just blundered. They've just blundered. Let's look at the analysis. Okay, so here we are in the analysis. Now, if we scroll down here, this looks like a little bit of a mess. Blunder, mistake, couple inaccuracies. 88% accuracy, we'll take it. And, you know, the graph doesn't look amazing. However, let's examine our opening choice. Master's database here. Okay, fine. E4, D5, Scandinavian. D4 is the blunder. We made one blunder, one mistake, and two inaccuracies. The blunder is the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit. It is played by a few hundred masters. Established theory. Lee Chess judges it as a blunder. Fine. Takes, knight to c3, knight f6, f3, ef6. And this is the mistake. But playing the Rider Gambit. Look, this is the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit accepted. This is the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit accepted. Rider Gambit. The two worst moves that we played, the blunder and the mistake, were both book moves, so to speak. They are both established theory. Now, that means that from this point, after our opponent obviously didn't accept the free pawn, which the point is that after this, there are some really cool lines like queenside castles here, here, little queen sack, but then like a checkmate here. This is called the Halasar trap, for those of you who are not aware. There are interesting lines if they accept the pawn. From this point on, this game was kind of perfect, I'll say. A couple inaccuracies, so maybe let's not use the word perfect, but a very strong game from here on out. So the knight jumps in here, they castle kingside, we castle queenside, takes, and then just a3. Okay, the evaluation is minus 0.9. Why is the evaluation minus 0.9, or probably a little closer to minus 1 actually? Well, because we're down a pawn. They have an extra pawn, so it's minus 1. There's not too much else to say about it so far, except we have the open G file, which makes a lot of sense to slide the rook to the open G file, and potential for counterplay. Now, they go bishop f6, an inaccuracy that gives away some of their advantage, but you can see what they're trying to do. They're investing time in making sure I don't have any bishop h6 ideas. Let's say they've just gone knight c6 here, then bishop h6, and if they don't want problems on here, either they play bishop f6, and then we can go for some apparently knight to f4 ideas. Who knows, but if they play g6, then maybe we take this, and the advantage isn't so obvious. So, they invest some time, g6, knight e4, and bishop back to g7, in creating this little structure here, which is much harder to attack. Now, they're still doing well, minus 0.5. I mean, the engine, this is basically an even game with equal winning chances. However, you see that the engine doesn't give them so much of an advantage. h4, perfect. Knight here, h5, also perfect. Here, okay, it likes bishop g5 first, but it also likes h6, and my idea was to play that and then bishop g5. So this is perfect. Bishop goes back, then bishop g5. Now, if you don't play f6, say you just develop the bishop or something, okay, well, sorry, my fault, that is a hanging knight. Say you go like this, then apparently bishop to b5, c6, and then bishop, what? It's just useful to induce c6. Okay, let's just ignore the engine because who knows, it doesn't know what it's on about. It doesn't know what it's on about. F6 here, we set back, and the king comes in. And now we're doing slightly better. But you've got to forgive them for trying to run with the king. However, we bring in our bishop. It wanted bishop g3 going after this pawn. Bishop g3, like what if you just play c6? Oh, then we can go check, okay. I guess that makes some sense. What about knight d5? Do we play c4? No, we play rook d2. Okay, we're not going to spend too much more time looking at the engine. We go bishop c4. A good thematic idea, setting up this beautiful bishop, which paid off. We drop back. Knight g5. King goes back here. Rook de1, although it preferred rook ge1 apparently. Or it wanted me to just take this straight away. Who cares? We put pressure on the weak backwards pawn and wear this inaccuracy badge here, even though it looks ugly as hell because Lee Chess has changed it, with pride. The reason being that we are creating counterplay. They play bishop takes here, knight takes e6, bishop takes, rook takes. We sacrifice an exchange to have this bishop. So the idea of bishop c4 and putting it on this diagonal with the king being weak here, objectively, this is a draw. The only move they can play that makes it a draw is king h8. If they play anything else, like for instance c6, we have rook takes g6, king here, then... Oh, boys, that's disgusting. I didn't even see that. Rook g8. This is their only move. Here. Oh, we could take with the pawn and its mate. That's outrageous. I didn't even see that. Wow. Okay, but here, it wants me to either take b7, which I considered, or... Oh, my God, guys. c3? Best move? Engine best move, c3. I mean, they're all kind of equivalent, but c3, beautiful stuff. We hold the d4 square, and now our opponent has to play quite accurately, and they did not. They missed this idea of bishop f6 mate. What an insane finish with the two bishops. What an aesthetic position, lads. I think there's a Garry Kasparov quote where if you make 10 threats in a row, your opponent will blunder. And, you know, this game, I'm making a lot of threats. I threatened, I went in with a check, then I threatened to take the pawn, then I take the pawn, threaten a fork, and then, you know, we exchange... Sack and exchange, I'm threatening some rook g6 with some mating ideas on g8. You know, we move the pawn and they eventually blunder. And what a beautiful finish. If they hadn't have blundered and they played something like c6, I can just go back. And my idea... Yeah, you see, look, they have to go like bishop b6. Let's say they... I don't know. The thing is, they can't even bring their rook in. That's just the heartbreaking truth of it. They can't move this rook either because it's attached to f6. So, let's say they just moved a pawn. Then we're going to go, apparently, okay, king c2. I was thinking we could go like this and then try and go in here. But they have f4, okay. I have no idea what's going on, apparently. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. A pretty beautiful use of the bishop pair, I think. And, I mean, it's an illustration of just how powerful that bishop pair can be. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. If you really enjoyed, consider becoming a channel member for $1.99 a month. Go hit the join page. I would really appreciate it. If you want personal chess coaching, sign up on the Google form in the link in the description of the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.